Good morning, Chris.
Morning, Janie. Morning, Tim.
All right, let's start with the big Tassie election. Peter Gutwein is basking in election glory, celebrating his back-to-back triumph and a majority Liberal government. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it stuck to where the polls were heading just before the election, so there's been no change. But you just wonder whether the Labor Party dropped the ball right at the very beginning when there was so much infighting in those first 2.5 weeks. That didn't go down too well. I thought Rebecca White was a very good candidate. I thought she could have won. The polls late in the campaign were heading Labor's way, but it wasn't to be. And you just wonder, people don't want to vote for a party that's, racked by internal bickering, but it was in the first 2.5 weeks. And I think the incumbent in a crisis tends to have, the advantage as you come into a state election. So the Liberal Party get the bickies.
What about Western Australia, Chris? Mark McGowan, Richard Cook, they've been the greatest finger pointers about you've done this wrong, you're not doing this right in New South Wales and other states of Australia, and they've followed their own sort of line of thought process. Now, we're hearing that their quarantine system's not up to scratch, and there's another example of it right now.
Yeah, exactly. But, leakages will happen. Leakages have occurred everywhere around Australia. You've got to, keep it in perspective. This business that he said last night where he started crowing about the fact, we locked everyone down, so this is a very small cluster, and this is why it's a small cluster. No, it's not. Look, one of the reasons why you have clusters is because you lock people down. You put people on top of each other. You restrict people from going out into the public domain. You restrict them from exercising, so therefore they're on their own and independent, not sitting at home with everyone else in the family and spreading COVID. It's all wrong. I think, though, the Perth public is starting to see through this bloke. I wonder what he's going to do today. It would not surprise me to see him locked down again, because that's his only method. He's got no other. Method of or tool to operate. He doesn't see the other states as being successful. He sees himself as being successful, which is so deluded it's not funny. He is a clown and he shouldn't be believed. Anytime you hear him today, just don't believe this bloke.
Let's talk about India becoming the first country to record more than 400,000 COVID cases in a single day. And India is, in fact, the world's biggest producer of COVID-19 vaccines, but a lot of shortages. I think only about 2% of the country have had their inoculation.
Yeah, the poorest countries and those in abject poverty were always going to be targets for this virus right at the very beginning. And it was lucky that India didn't suffer from this right at the start, but they have now. Reports out of India suggest it's probably closer to 500,000 on one 24-hour period. Like, it's hard to even fathom that amount of people that could be tested positive. There are no testing facilities in any part of rural India. So if you understand that, you understand that 400,000 is only a guesstimate. It's not an accurate figure. They are in for a terrible, terrible time. There will be deaths. There will be additional infections on a nightly period. And, the world has to come and support India and try and stop the trajectory of this, because otherwise it will be one of their greatest crises.
Very difficult situation in India. 1.3 billion is the population. It's an enormous challenge. Now, quite in contrast and quite a swing shift in editorial, Disneyland has reopened. UK dance events are happening. In other parts of the world, we're seeing some normalcy again.
Yeah, it's very similar to what we did with our sport here, especially rugby league and AFL in 2020. The fact that you hold these events, the fact that Disneyland is opened again, the fact that you can have, even for a testing time in the UK, dance and nightclubs open, it's a sign, it's an encouragement that things can continue as normal, and people need that, especially in places like the UK and the USA that have had massive problems with COVID-19, unlike Australia. They need the encouragement. They need the confidence. And this is a really good sign. Everyone get to Disneyland. I love it.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about it the weekend. We certainly are wanting to go. 25.
Well, Janie's actually, as we change editorial again, Janie's actually had roles as Mickey Mouse and Pluto and others, because she's an entertainer at heart.
Friends of. Mickey is real.
Yeah, how does it go? How does he talk?
Of course Mickey's real.
Well, Tim told me that he is too scared to go on the Space Mountain, but the teacup he wants to go on. So
I'm also too big to be any of the Disney characters. What about South? I don't want to give you too much time on this, but you're rolling along quite nicely. Adam Reynolds' injury is not going to help things.
They're looking good, mate. The difference is that we're injury-free at the moment. We're not suspension-free, but we're injury-free, which is fantastic for any football team at this time of the season. Fingers crossed it can continue, Tim.